In the new business under number 6, public outreach and engagement, we're going to spend most of our time today on this. And the first part of this will be organizing the table at the election on election day, because Audra secured us a table with Katrina at the polls. So you need to come up with a game plan. Other than that, we're going to do exactly the agenda as it's proposed. The first, and we didn't print out for all of you the materials that were sent, because we noticed that most of the time you do read them, and it's saved on paper. So unless there's a outcry that we're not printing stuff, we're going to keep on doing this moving forward. We'll print out the agendas because it's nice to have them handy, but the rest of the materials, you can print them or read them online. All right. So the first item today is the approval of the October 18, 2022 meeting minutes. Anybody has any comments on the minutes?
They're a masterpiece.
Maggie gets the credit.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Yes.
Well, I just decided, I was like, I think I'm gonna type them this time because I've been writing them.
Oh, yeah, thank
What
you.
am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like doing it twice.
Yeah. Sometimes that's good. It makes you think about them.
So is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Well, just a question shorthand. This is the version that was most recently sent out this afternoon? Okay.
We got your edit.
Very important.
Do you want to say what edit it was? If
I
other,
think it changed this 3 to a 6.
okay.
Section 3 to section, I want to say it was
Five.
5, so I don't know if it's 6 then.
No, it is 5, you're right.
Somebody's paying attention. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
A second. All in favor? So the motion is approved. It's 8-0, right? Because Ellen is not here. All right. Our next item is the open mic and the elevator pitches, or as I was told by someone on the street, it's more like a Hannaford pitch or a French and Brown pitch, because we don't have elevators here. So why did you come up with that idea, Sophie? So have you had a chance to work on them? Do you want to share them?
Yes, we do.
All right. So
Why don't
yeah, so I think the way we should go about it is to hear them and then maybe kind of pick the best idea. You can always use yours, of course, but if you, I'm a big believer.
critique on the spot.
Critique on the spot. I'm a big believer in begging, borrowing, and stealing, and not reinventing the wheel. So, but yeah, let's go ahead. You want to start?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Oh.
So, Seth, what is it you do at the Citizens Advisory Committee?
The Mrcac River Citizens Advisory Committee. We are a clearinghouse for information about improvement for the river. Through our work, we seek input as well as to inform about Mrcac River improvement. The committee will make recommendations to the select board about the sustainability and resiliency river improvements for the town to pursue. High
Not good
level,
enough at minutes.
lots of ups.
I'll give it to you.
Elevator pitches, I think, are really important. We don't need to worry about where they're given. You have to make sense quickly. And I just think about like my development days. You can defend anything in here.
Yes.
You just have to make sense quickly.
Yeah.
So I know it's restating a lot of the same thing, but it's, it's one that I feel like I can kind of rattle off and get more questions about. Oh, you're seeking input from who, et cetera, et cetera.
How can I give an
I
input?
know this will take
Do
twice
you-
much time, but I'm wondering if you can read it again.
Oh, yes, yeah, exactly, yes, definitely. So we are a clearinghouse for information about improvement for the river. Through our work, we seek input as well as to inform about Mrcac River improvement. The committee will make recommendations to the select board about the sustainability, resiliency river improvements for the town to pursue.
All right, well done.
That's just a line,
And thank you for being the first
but I
one.
might throw it up.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll see.
Do we want to go around the table or? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, hi, I'm Ray Andreessen. I'm a member of the new Mrcac River Citizens Advisory Committee. And I took off on, in front of French and Braun type of thing, okay? And I'd like to hear your questions and ideas about the future of the river that runs through Camden and into the harbor. There's 9 of us on the committee, and we're responsible for making recommendations to the Camden Select Board on a path forward to making the river healthier, more resilient to flooding, and possibly even accessible to alewives, river herring, and other marine fish that spawn in fresh water. But first, we need to know what you, the citizens of Camden, think about the river, what you know and don't know about different issues, and what's the best way to keep you informed.
That's gonna engage a lot of converstion.
Mhm.
Have you
That's
tested
right.
it already?
Hmm?
Have you tested it?
No. No.
So yeah, could you guys all send these in the email at the end?
And there'll be,
And they'll be in.
yeah, they'll be on Zoom.
Very cool.
I don't have a good one to go with, so.
Well, mine is a bit more focused on the purpose. I just kind of twisted the purpose a little bit. So mine is the purpose of the committee is to provide recommendations to the select board for one, preserving and improving the sustainability and resiliency of the Mrcac River and its watershed. And two, engaging stakeholders, community members, and grant funding agencies in the process. The committee will engage in a due diligence process to advance viable options. So kind of just tweaked the purpose. It's not really that elevator pitchy. I realize now, but yeah, getting there.
Cool. Susan?
Sorry, my glasses. We are a volunteer advisory committee of 9 community members with diverse backgrounds. And currently we are gathering data to fill in information gaps on the Mrcac River and its watershed. We're working on ways to engage the community to seek input from them. And the ultimate goal is to recommend viable options for the town to move forward to improve sustainability and resiliency of Mrcac River and its watershed with the support of the community. Camden was awarded a $1.6 million grant from the National Fisheries and Wildlife Foundation for this research. And all information is located on the town website, and all meetings are public and recorded.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
This is awesome.
All
But also I can completely picture each one of you giving that speech
Yeah,
with the
for
people
sure.
you mingle with often. Deb?
I sort of did what Courtney did. I stuck to, actually to elevator rather than in front of French and Braun because there's a little bit more stretch there. To develop a community outreach process through which knowledge of the river and watershed is shared with the town's residents and an understanding is gained of their questions, concerns, passions, and suggestions. From this combination, the committee will develop strategies for meeting the town's goals. And then to follow with A,
Yeah.
so, do you have time to give me a few of your ideas, something like that?
This is so cool.
Yeah, mine's very elevator pitchy. We are a cross-disciplinary group charged to vet and then present information to our fellow townspeople on how best to proceed at the intersection of the well-being of the river and community interests.
Oh, I love the intersection.
Excellent. Cool.
I'm gonna get dizzy if I look up. So pretend I'm making eye contact. The Mrcac River Citizens Advisory Committee is about information, collecting information and sharing information. The committee is charged with pulling together as much varied information as exists about the Mrcac River estuary or watershed somewhere, whatever is more accurate, so that we can then broadcast that information back to those who use and treasure the river. A little bit more sales pitchy.
Yeah, I like that.
This is, I mean, thank you so much because you dove in, and you can all use your pitches very easily and engage in conversation with fellow citizens, or when you're stopped on the sidewalk, say, hey, what does it do? You're all equipped. So that was exactly my purpose, is to make sure that you had in your back pocket, like a little card, but you'll have it in your brain on how you can answer the question, what does this committee does? So I think it's very cool. Would love to collect those. So yeah, email them, and because I may use one or two of those because they're very useful. But I always found those, it's a little bit of work to do it, to sit down and say, what is it that we do and what's the purpose? But it clarifies and it helps having the conversations. And we're going to start doing that so very soon.
And it feels good. Everyone seems to know the purpose.
The purpose.
So our work is done.
Not really.
Oh,
but- okay, So I think we still have a few minutes of open mic, so maybe if anybody has any other comments, as we did last time, or we should continue with the agenda. Let's move ahead. So gap analysis, an update, Maggie?
Sure.
Sorry, I did that.
Yeah, well, I sent around this morning just kind of an updated gap analysis memo. And basically what we've done is tried to add the key feedback that we got at the last meeting into our graphic, which we had to change the look of our flower a little bit because we added a seventh topic. So the community input piece, which is the inventory of what the community knows and what they want to know. And so you'll notice throughout here, all the other things that were added. There were a few that were similar that we merged together. So if you don't like how we did that, please tell us and we'll pull them apart. And then within the memo, we just reorganized based on the numbering a little bit. And then you'll see at the end there, we just have the feedback from the committee kind of in a separate section by category. So it has all the bullets that were added for each section that already existed there. And then on page 7, we included a table which summarizes the prioritization and next steps. So basically it has the category and the data cap. The way we ranked it is that any item that had 2 or more votes is in this table. And the rankings that are the same number had the same number of stickies. So of course, like there's a lot of 4s here. But I think it just kind of helps to like pull out and think about some of these things that floated to the top in that exercise. So at the top, you can see, I think the one item that had the most stickies here was the climate action plan, but then incorporating the Mrcac River into school curriculums. And I'll note with that one too, like schools came up in different ways multiple times. So I could imagine that would have like distributed stickies a little bit. So, you know, it could even underrepresent the importance of that to this group. And then, you know, a few more at the top here, we have modeling of flood projections, looking at the economic tourism and use of the river, and a study of the industry use, kind of a bit more of an industry focus in that item. The next one is about legacy contaminants in the river and in the soils. And then starting with the 4s, we have the creation of the Mrcac River Festival, which is where we have that fun conversation about the benthic macroinvertebrates, defining what a flood event is in the river, fish population surveys, macroinvertebrate surveys and biomonitoring, invasive species surveys and management plans, vulnerability assessments for public facilities, risk assessments for private properties, and renderings of the river and dam management options. So that's it. It's not too different, but we also included photos of the pages in the back, and these are also in the minutes.
Cool. And so what we're going to use this gap analysis for in the work of the Mrcac grant, we want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. I think that, you know, basically the way we approached this was thinking about, you know, gaps between us and the mission of the town. And hopefully that can help you all sort out what the priorities are for this community, for this committee to reach that mission. And kind of like guide, I hope guide, you know, what we do with this group in the next year and a half of the project. Can I add into that at all?
Yeah, just, you know, it's what you guys have done has helped us, you know, give a more holistic view of the watershed and where we're going. So it's not necessarily just the National Fish and Wildlife Grant, it's the Mrcac River, you know, watershed project, and, you know, where it needs to go for the next, you know, 5, 10, 15 years. So I think we've just started to lay the groundwork for that. And your input was really, really good, by the way. We got a lot, and we had very little prep to get there, and you guys still nailed it. So thank you.
Cool. Good. Next topic is our bylaws update. I'm just moving along because I really want to get to the public outreach.
Can I just bring up one
Oh,
thing?
yes,
Okay,
please.
I showed this gap analysis to someone, and they said that shouldn't, thinking about it, shouldn't the community education engagement be the number one on this?
Yeah, I
That's really-
think we tried not
I
to,
don't know what the numbering system was that you
Totally.
decided on, but.
yeah, I don't think
that's
it's
really
intended
the
to
most
reflect,
critical thing.
right, it's not intended to reflect a priority, but it comes, I can see how it could come across that way, so maybe
Right.
as a group, we should think about rearranging this to make sure that it does fit
Good
with,
call.
yeah,
To me, it's almost a separate entity in itself, because all these other topics are things that we're gonna be educated the public on, in my mind. So it's almost like
The transversal.
second, or, yeah, the first thing, and then the second thing is, should be all these subtopics.
Right.
I mean, you can think about it either
Yeah.
way. but
Right.
they're
Yeah,
separate.
yeah, no, that's a good point. It's not prioritized.
Right.
On the wheel, but I could see how a reader at a quick glance would see, think it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
we could also just take away the numbers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing.
They're just
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Because what we get from that process is input, like much of the other information in that long list.
Mhm.
It's still critical information for us to have in terms of figuring out what the priorities are.
Yeah, the numbers are merely to correspond, so you know where to read it. We could just put initials or something instead of the numbers,
Yeah.
like, CH for community
Yeah.
history. So should we do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is everyone
Right, or
consensus?
that, or, yeah, just put the community education engagement up on the top of it. and
Instead of
sort
7.
Priority without a number.
How
Yeah,
about we do
separate
both?
it.
Yeah, we'll do both.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
rotate
separate.
clockwise one notch.
Okay, so I'm just writing this down here, so we're gonna rotate the graphic and the text so that the education is first.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the community input, that is the category we all added together, or the community education engagement, which we decided was the,
Community education,
Number 5.
Number 5.
okay.
which is currently number 5, yeah,
Oh, so we're rotating it.
just rotate, yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah, great,
And
great.
also removing the numbers.
And Audra, is that one, once it's updated, is this a graph we can put on the town website?
Yes.
Because I think that would be interesting for people to take a look at it. I think it's a nice, little snapshot of where we are and where,
Mhm.
what we still need to know and understand. Cool. Any other comments? Thank you, Ray. All right, so we're gonna move on to bylaws update and review the latest draft. So it was attached in Maggie's email. Does everybody have it?
Yeah, we
I did.
apologize. It just came through today. Some of the homework just got finished this morning,
So,
so.
wait, I'm saying this, but I'm just,
And I did it in track changes, so you could kind of compare and see what it was before.
so bylaws. So the changes. Wow.
Yeah, the changes were under section 1, purpose and scope, and that was Tyler's input that he did live at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So he just broke it out into 2 separate statements, which is much more intuitive, I think. And then Rick did some work on section 5 that he agreed to do at the end of the last meeting. That was just sort of poorly worded, and I like what you came up with, Rick, so we'll see what others think. I don't think we necessarily need to adopt the bylaws today. I know, Ray, you didn't get to see these yet, the revisions, but it's sort of up to the group how they want to proceed.
But I think we can still, there are two, the comments the changes that Richard made on number 5, well, we could read out loud for those of you who haven't seen them.
Sure.
Richard, you want to do that?
Just read the paragraph.
Yes.
Sure, it's, if anybody's following along electronically, it's the 3rd paragraph is all that was changed. And this tried to get at the spirit of what we discussed at the last meeting, basically trying to avoid skewing the process and creating information imbalances and that kind of thing. So it says now, no member shall commission independent work from or otherwise engage with external agencies about matters that fall within the scope of the purpose of the committee, except to the extent that the independent work has been authorized by the committee. And then the other two sentences will carry overs from the previous version. Yeah, and the only, so and actually the last section of that sentence, where it's except to the extent that independent work has been authorized by the committee, basically just reshapes the language in the original draft, which said that it had to come up by vote.
Cool.
Looks good.
Where does, this is back to a higher level question, where does, I see a lot in here with regard to sustainability and resiliency of the watershed, which seems to focus more on the environmental aspects. I haven't figured out where, like in our purpose and scope, I don't know where aesthetics plays in, or history, or some of these other, it doesn't seem like that is part of the purpose and scope of this committee for what's written here.
That is another question, yeah.
I'm concerned, it's hard because I think the grant is focused on those aspects. And I think there's definitely a large community group that may be interested in the aesthetics and the history and perhaps other parts of it more than the fish ladders and the other. So I think it's hard. I don't know where that balance is.
In a way, Tyler, I mean, this is maybe unpacking those two words, sustainability and resilience, too much, but when I read those two words, I include a lot of what you're talking about.
Okay.
In other words, it's not just for the critters that are on the ground.
Yeah.
But without doing those two things, the sustainability and the resilience, the river's not going to be very attractive to the townspeople. It's not going to be of much use. It's not going to be very attractive to look at. And I'm not saying that's even if you agree that there isn't a reason for pulling those other things out.
I just don't know whether we're providing an emphasis on these or automatic weighting to these particular items versus other ones.
But there's in the purpose statement, but when you look at the gap analysis, there's a fair amount about economics, history, something about aesthetics.
Sure.
I mean, I think we could tweak the purpose statement and include, I think it's important to take stock of the history, because we should never ignore history. And we're not working on the watershed out of nowhere, right?
Right.
We're working on it right now because of its history in particular, because of its industrial and commercial use in the past. And that is no longer, of use today. I mean, we don't use dams to produce energy for the mills, right? So I think it's important maybe to state that. The aesthetic piece, I think, is really key, because I don't think anybody wants to build something that's ugly, right? But aesthetics is very subjective, and it'll be hard to get to a consensus of what I think is aesthetically pleasing might not be what Susan thinks is aesthetically pleasing, although I think we do. But anyway, but I think taking into consideration just not a utilitarian approach to the river, but also an aesthetic one is important. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I just know, this is my inclination here. When I thought about this, I agreed with Deb's comment about that concept being contained within sustainability, and caused me to think, all right, well, what does the old dictionary say the definition of sustainability is? And ironically, the first example used has nothing to do with natural resources. It's about economic sustainability, which is kind of gets at what I was thinking, and that is sustainability is both a charged word, but also a nebulous one. So maybe that's good.
Maybe being vague is appropriate, yeah.
The definition, at least Google tells me this is what the Oxford Dictionary says, is it's the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. Again, good and nebulous. Certainly it does carry with it. Many people will associate a natural resources concept to it because the term has come into vogue. in recent years around that. But I think sustainability can include an aesthetic idea as well. We want to sustain the aesthetic beauty, character of the river as it currently exists as well. Anyway, I'm okay with sustainability.
Well, and the beauty of the river has to be resilient. In
But
other
if
words-
if the river is not resilient, it cannot be beautiful.
Exactly. It's-
And I think an important aspect of the purpose of this written is the second part, which is talking about engaging stakeholders in the community. So their voices will be heard. So if we didn't have that piece, I'd be worried that we weren't including the people's needs, but I think we are. But I have the same thoughts.
Yeah, I think
so-
it's just, I want to make sure that, I think things that are in like this gap analysis are within scope of what we're defining as the scope.
Okay.
I remember a meeting at the Rockefeller Foundation about 10 years ago where we were creating an enormous community of practice on resilience and resiliency. Resiliency was the topic du jour, in international development. You probably, remember those days. And the first topic on the agenda is we are not going to spend a second defining resilience, or else we're going to be here for a week. So it was kind of funny to talk about something that we were not defining, but it's because it's such a broad topic that it would be a waste of time. But I think if everyone is comfortable with the point we are at, Tyler, you're okay? Okay, but thank you. Those clarifications are really key. So thank you for keep on making them.
I was tempted to bring in Andrew Zoli's book about resilience. If you want to talk, what Rick's saying, lots of different meanings
Yeah.
depending on the context.
Absolutely.
Very helpful though.
Super helpful. But now we're overused. I mean,
Yes.
it's becoming jargony and overused, and we're losing it. Anyway, so the bylaws, I think once those changes are, you agree on those changes? If you want to vote,
One thing I wanted to add,
sure.
I think we need to have a the in front of sustainability. And way too OCD, but.
Preserving and improving the sustainability.
Or am I?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you're right.
I think we can
Okay.
adopt them. And by the way, we can also revisit them, later along our work if we feel that they need to be updated. But-
Yeah, and as we should, I mean, one thing I mentioned before, we didn't put term limits or anything in here for the committee. That doesn't need to happen now. An amendment is simply by a majority vote of the committee to make an amendment to these bylaws. Pretty simple process.
All right. Let's move on to public outreach and
Oh,
then,
do
No?
we
Do we want to move and?
do we want to have a vote?
oh, please do.
It's up to the
Yes,
committee.
It's up to the committee to vote.
Move to adopt the minutes or the
The bylaws.
bylaws as most recently drafted, including the word "the" addition.
Second.
All in favor? The motion passed
All right,
8-0.
all right.
All right, thank you. This is great doing business with you guys. So bam, bam, bam. Public outreach and engagement. So the first topic, I think today is the November 8th table.
Right.
So I think we need to talk about who's going to man the table.
Mhm.
What kind of documents do you need or supplies? Do we want to have anything printed? Because we talked about those maps and that could be very cool to have a visual. So how do you want to organize yourself? And I say you purposefully because I cannot be at the table for obvious reasons.
Can we start with whether there's one purpose or two? In other words, you're talking about outreach, giving them things. But one of the things I thought we talked about the last time was maybe having a set of questions that we wanted to ask them as a first attempt to get their input to our process. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It makes sense. Would you be prepared to do that in a
Stopping
week?
people at the polls and asking them questions.
Well, you can,
Tracking
so
answers.
usually what
You
happens
sit
is
at a
that they vote
table
first.
After the
Right.
yeah.
After the vote, you cannot engage with them before the vote. And actually, you could today, because they're not voting on anything related to the river, but technically you can't. They vote and then they come out, and that's when they can sign petitions or stop at tables and get some information, so.
But you don't put a stop sign out there and make them stop. I mean,
It's
you
a good
could.
question, but then.
But you could put something out there that says, tell us what's important to you about
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
Mrcac River watershed.
Yeah.
And then if you had some sort of preset things that, even if they just put a check mark by it or something else, it'd be very interesting.
It would,
because they might ask a question that we had information about. so we
Sure.
could give it to them.
We could have like a one pager listing what our committees are about, what we're doing, our purpose. And then ask them on a separate, or, I mean, continue on that sheet of just, brief information about the river restoration, why it's an issue. And then another sheet, like you said, where they can write comments and indicate maybe their priorities.
Or just their questions.
Just a question.
Their question.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to get people's questions.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if we ask them too many things, then they might, I mean, it's not gonna be the only table, as usual. So maybe ask them, what do you need to learn about the river? What is your interest about the river? Maybe something like that where they can,
depending on how many responses we get,
Yeah.
we might want to give them categories, so that we can, graph it and look at the data, so that we really need to address how the river's gonna look or something like that.
Yep.
Because otherwise we're gonna get a lot of sentences that we have to comb through.
or maybe we can pick up 1 or 2 or 3 categories from the gap analysis and the priorities.
right.
Because again, I think if we give too many options, it's hard to choose.
Yes.
Right? I cannot choose at the Chinese restaurant ever. I always order the same thing because I'm overwhelmed by choice.
It might
So-
be a good opportunity for them to also add their name and email to a list of outreach. So we can reach them if we do have like a newsletter or.
So technically,
upcoming lecture.
So I'm gonna look at Audra right now because I don't want to say something that is out of line, but this is a town committee. And so technically all the information is public and should go to everyone. So even if they give us their email address.
So how are we gonna send information out to people if they don't sign up? Can they sign up on the website of the town? And that's okay, but they couldn't sign up.
Or they get all the
During an
information through the
election.
website.
Through the website or through a mailing, I think that's.
Can we do a QR code
QR code.
that someone could scan on their phone and it takes them to the website?
Yeah, I mean, we could do all these things. You could take email addresses for a distribution list
That's
to
it.
send
Yeah.
information
Okay,
out to. And it would be like you don't have to send everything out through the email. It could be like a link that connects to, the website.
Okay.
But the QR code is a good idea because people can scan the QR code to the website on site right away.
There's all kinds of
And there's all
information
kind
on
of
the
information
website.
there, so.
I
if you
mean,
could-
all of our meetings and everything.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a really cool idea, just because it's a printout and it's super easy. Can we do that? So if we can collect email addresses, then we should offer that as well. But to me, what's more interesting is their question.
Would it be to our advantage to, maybe I missed this just now, to collect those email addresses? Are we looking for that information? Because it makes more sense that we direct them how to get to our website where everything's gonna be, rather than have this task of collecting all these emails. You see what I'm saying?
No,
I was just thinking ahead to the outreach portion. We might have, I was thinking a great way to, like if we send a newsletter once a week, once a month after our meetings with, information on what we're talking about in our meetings, but also there's like an upcoming lecture or
Okay. I get it.
whatever that.
Yep, yep.
but again, this is a town committee, so the newsletter will be on the website and will need to be available to everyone. So they're not gonna receive any particular information that no one else would receive, right?
Oh, no, of course
All
not,
right.
but I think the issue before has been, we have the website, we have all this information, and still people have no idea about the project.
Right.
And so how do we get people engaged? How do, if we do have a monthly email, it could even just be a link,
Right.
just a way to keep them engaged. We could send like a tip of the month,
Yeah.
on sustainability, just engage them in stewardship and get them excited about the project. Something.
Do we have a town database of all the emails?
We have like a distribution list of people who've signed up over the years to get like all the select board meeting agendas and that kind of thing.
Is that hundreds, thousands,
Hundreds.
hundreds?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So we could merge those two. So maybe what we should do is collect emails and tell them if you're already in the database of the town, we'll merge those two.
Yeah.
I mean, we have that text alert system.
The text
Like, I
alert
could
would be
create a new group
Yeah.
just for, anytime you send out, you create a newsletter or you
Yeah.
have information that you want to push out to people. If you can encourage people to sign up for that. And, we create a specific group for this that people would sign up to. And then every time you have something, they get a text and be directed to where it is on the website. But it's still,
Yeah.
because we've tried to do that more broadly across the town, and the challenge is just trying to get people to sign up for it.
Right.
Even though it's like a pop-up on the website, there are so many people who are like, how do you do that? I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Right.
So
Two thoughts, if you're going out next week to get information from the community, I think, from my opinion, I would be prepared as a committee to respond to what you get. So I'm thinking like, if you get an email, if people sign up for email list next week, they're probably gonna be expecting to hear right away, and if they don't hear, then that, they might perceive that as like nothing's happening.
Yeah, have a plan for that.
And then the other thing I was thinking about, let's see. Yeah, when I think LP, you were saying this earlier is, if we're gonna ask them questions next week, like how do we synthesize that so that they're feeling heard and it's reflected back in this meeting? Because if it is a bunch of, independent questions or comments that people are writing, that can be like really hard to synthesize in a way that's you can take action on.
This is a question, where on the town website is our committee page, as it were? I do see the pop-up that it's right on the main thing.
Isn't it under committees?
It's under
Yeah.
I didn't
committees.
okay, but there is the one that Audra's talking about that talks about, it takes you to Mrcac River project updates, which references our appointment, but there's nothing else on this thing that I see that highlights our work or links out to. Okay, so where is
So that's just that, the general river updates.
this one?
And then the first link goes to your page.
There's no first link.
The first link on that page, like if you scroll.
Okay, I'm done. Help me.
I don't know why it's-
Maybe it's a mobile page
Can't you
problem.
just find it under committees?
Shouldn't be. It's under committees, but it's also,
Maybe
But it's.
talk to whoever the web person is and
That's
see why it
me.
didn't come up. If we get a hold of that person,
yeah. You're speaking to her.
this is all Greek to me, so. I mean, I
Yeah,
know that
I'll-
sometimes they'll say mobile version versus computer version or what have you, but
It should do
Oh,
it
well,
by itself.
maybe it
This
just
is the
moved it.
appointment. It just is that one
I
link.
don't know why it's not showing up on the mobile device. Anyway, I'll work on it.
Okay.
Okay, but so, right, so number one, a QR code. Yeah?
Yep.
Number two, a list where we can collect emails and phone numbers, because phone numbers are for the text messages, right? Or we ask them to sign up for the text message thing. Audra,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. And what questions do you have about the river project? What do you need to know? So, and I think that could be a great, we can,
You could have just that one question
Yeah.
and you wouldn't then have to worry about additional
I'd
categories.
keep it simple.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
Simple
idea.
is- okay,
Can we
But-
have a kiosk, like an
Is this
analog
like-
solution to
Did you log
this?
into it, right? Like, is it?
So-
And
so
I
people-
really don't like the idea of laminating paper and turning it into plastic, or tacking it to a board and putting it by the river. But I'm having a hard time getting that image out of my head, the possibility there, because it could just be like a sandwich board, a QR code, an update on what the committee is doing, instead of the most recent update being an update on the town's website of the project update from August.
So
Like,
keep
you know, just-
an outdoor kiosk?
Yeah, just something that's always there.
So
It's
That
there.
actually would take care of people that
Check
aren't
on
all
it.
that
We
tech
do it all the
savvy.
time. You
So,
go,
well,
put it
the
like-
Stewardship Education Alliance has such a board right next to the harbor master's house down there that we regularly put in news about what we're doing. And it's a nice looking thing
It is,
with.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah,
I like
And,
the murals and I like that, I like the purpose of that place. My one concern is that it, like, foot traffic down there has been so dramatically just
true.
from
That's right.
parking. So, so like Harbor Park.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say, so
like
I can ask at the
foot.
library,
Yeah.
has the
Library.
shelves in the library,
Yeah.
we could certainly put things there.
Yeah, but I think, I mean,
just on the corner.
but also I think once we have a QR code, we can multiply the places where we can have that code and that information available. We can put it down at the town hall, at the library, you know, at main outdoor sports. I mean,
Sure.
so more places where people can go, oh, do you wanna know what's happening with the river project? QR code
Yeah.
takes you to the link.
Yes.
Do you want to receive information? Yes, I do. You know, do you want to give us your credit card so we can try? Yes, I do. No, but things like that, I think we need, this is great. This is exactly what we need to multiply the points of information where people can scan this QR code. Is that what you were
That's
referring to?
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think also in the winter, people go, I mean, the town office isn't obvious. You go to pay your taxes, whatever, you know, things like that. The library is a given.
Always.
What other places? You can put it on the board.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Main outdoor sports, we can maybe
Presumes.
pool. Seth, any idea? Tyler, sorry.
I think I would.
I'm not 26 anymore, names all right.
I think I would pick your point, so the contact that people have with the river. And so I think a real obvious one is obviously the dam, reflection pool, all of that down there. I think you could probably have one at Shirt Tail. You could
Yeah.
probably have one at most of your boat put-ins.
Yeah,
And I don't think it needs to be a huge board with a ton of information. I think it could be learn more about what's going on with this
Yeah.
watershed and what the town's plans are.
yeah.
Get in touch.
Get in touch, QR code. We can also probably put one on more.
And then the nice thing with that is whatever information or whatever you put on there is doesn't become dated because it's
Yeah.
just sending someone somewhere where it's
Right.
not. Whereas if you actually put information on there, it could become dated or it could, not be the most current stuff.
So great, so this is a first action plan.
My only thought is there's a lot of people that don't use QR codes.
That's right.
They don't,
Yes, I
like,
agree.
I know people that just won't, and
Right.
you know, they don't even know if they are in some
Right.
circumstances, so
Options to get it.
we have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
like, what are
Are you saying there's
What's
people that
another
have photographs of QR codes on their phone?
Yes.
I'm there, Rick. I'm there.
You might be one of those.
We've all been there.
If you give to Goodwill now, they don't give you a certificate, receipt. You have to scan the QR code and fill it out yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
Darn
done.
tootin'.
Yep,
That's amazing.
yep, they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, you
Can't
do
wait
it
to
yourself.
evolve.
You
Yeah.
just do it yourself. We have better things to do, like parsing.
So I will go back to the November 8th cable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My only concern with, I guess, asking a really open-ended question is two things, you can get very open-ended responses, but I think you're also gonna get, I know when I typically provide feedback, like I don't mind filling in the bullets or like 1 to 10, when it comes to actually writing in those couple sentences.
You don't have time.
Yeah, and so I think it'd be interesting to put like, what is most important, least important, like either 1 through 10, and have like fish passage, river flooding, ocean flooding, river aesthetics, waterfall over the rocks, reflection pool. You could have those things and actually have like a little bullet that someone could fill in.
Now, would it be priorities for what they
Information.
care about or information they want to receive?
I was thinking what they care about.
Right.
Because if we,
I think it's a great question.
yeah, if we ask for their opinions too soon, without them having much information, it can be a little dangerous.
So we were not asking for opinions. I think we were asking either for what do you need to learn about the river, which might be a complicated question to answer out just a poll. So maybe I like this idea of what do you care what's important to you in the river management. We need to phrase it carefully so that people don't think that what they're gonna say is gonna determine an action
Exactly.
on the part of the
That's what
town.
I was worried
Which,
about.
you know, it's really more like help us understand what information you need by telling us what you care most about the river, maybe something like that. And there will be people, right? So you can explain that message. But I think we need to wordsmith it now
Mhm.
because it's October 1st. And we won't meet again before the election.
Yeah.
So have we narrowed it down to being more of a question of what information do you need rather than?
So what information do you need is hard, right? Because
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
it's more what questions do you have?
what questions do you have?
I'm
And
wondering
which
if
are
it's
the
too early.
topics that you're, maybe
It
topics,
might be too early.
right?
So, sorry.
I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit about the outreach ideas and then come back to the November 8th questions, because I think it's going to inform it. Because I think,
And it may be, like you said, it may be too early.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
If we're not ready to
Try
take
do
that.
I think we're interested in what people know as a baseline, but be careful. And
Yeah.
I think during this process, we're going to be educating people, the community on everything, right? So hopefully, history and flooding and water quality and et cetera, maintenance of the dams. And so I think we have to think about why we want the information.
Yeah.
Before we can figure out what information to ask for.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think if we were really
Get into
gonna
that
act on that
conversation.
information specifically, then we
Yeah,
were
but
really
we-
looking for direction, but I don't think we are at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it would be great to have a baseline too.
Yeah, I guess I just want to caution the committee that this is a week away.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so-
we're trying to do an awful lot
Yeah.
in a week, and maybe we should keep it simple for
Introduce
now,
ourselves.
because, we have, there's a lot of building to do, and you guys, we haven't even talked about this yet, but in the NIPWIF grant, we've talked about some branding that we can actually do as a
Yeah.
committee. So, a committee logo, things like that, and that would be nice to have on a kiosk or at a meeting, but we're just not there yet. That's a few months away.
But Susan is the one who came up with the suggestion, and I
Well,
told
actually,
me,
it was Tyler, I think.
oh, it was you, okay. 'Cause- So anyway, but so both of you then, what is it you wanted to achieve? My understanding was, let's take this opportunity to be there to get some questions. But I mean, we can change your mind. I mean, there's no, so. go ahead.
Well, but I also think that it's important just to say this committee has been formed.
Okay,
We're trying to gather information.
right.
And if you have questions, write some down. We'll use that to inform our decisions and to move forward. Because we're just gathering information. We want your input. And we can't move forward unless we know what the community wants. And that's sort of what I was thinking is.
And I can imagine, well, I want to know more about the fish ladder. I want to know more about flooding. Is it really flooding? Well, I want to know more about
And
sea
some of
level
those
rise.
questions are on the website.
They're on the website.
Yeah, some of them
So,
are.
okay. I'm just
Right.
always trying to figure out if.
But I know I had a library board meeting and Sylvia, who was the president, said, I didn't know we had this grant.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a, we've been given this grant.
Elevator
And-
pitch.
Right, it's going back to our elevator speech. We've been given this grant and we want to collect data and get input from the town. And we're here to tell you that we're here.
Yeah.
And, send us questions. Maybe you can send us questions on the website. It may take us a while to get to those answers.
We're interested in the questions because that
Right.
helps us understand what type of
direction we need
information
to
you
go. Right, and I think it's more of a, we're here, help us to decide what direction we need to go.
And is it okay to have just a stack of paper and leave it open-ended at this point?
Right, in other words, here's the information,
Yeah.
and here's who we are.
So they can get information on how to get on the website. They can leave a question. They can pick up maybe a printout of the NIFWIF press release or something on the grants, like we have like a one page on the grant.
Yeah.
I'd be careful,
That's
I'd be
why
real
we're-
careful, because there are a lot of guardrails on that grant.
Yeah, and that's.
And there's
that's
a lot
No,
of-
but there's a press release that NIFWIF put out describing and the description is not
Yes.
really good too.
Yeah.
Cool, okay, so we'll stay away from that. No, I'm just trying to, yes, please.
How about just framing it in a way that comes off as fun and a little more innocent? Like, you know, so when people are trying to exit the polls, which is what they want to do,
Yeah.
and not have to sign one more petition for one more referendum that's going to happen, just put something in big block letters. It says something to the effect of, what's the one thing you want to learn about the Mrcac River, or even a more fun version of that. And then, you know, just one thing you're asking. So, all right, I can do one thing, and then stop and leave a box with a big question mark on it. So it looks more appealing than your usual petition solicitation.
Yeah, no, that's a good, yeah.
Yeah, or just, we need your input, maybe
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
even that simple.
And that way, if you frame it in a way that seems less political and more fun, then maybe it'll be a breath of fresh air and someone will take the time out. You might get some seemingly silly questions in there,
I want some.
but you might get some very serious pointed ones as well, and keeping it open-ended. might
So
give
should
us-
we have, for instance, should we have easels where people can write instead of petition, you know, because sometimes it's,
It's going to be very difficult to put that in front of the table.
no, they could be in the back. Well,
How are they going to come? they're gonna
Yeah,
come
I
back?
was thinking, we've done this before, we just have, you know, little half pieces of paper and they write it down and they can list their contact info and they fold it up and put it in the
Yeah.
box that we have there.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just, yeah, I think keep it simple, keep it so people can do everything in 30 seconds, because you're right, they're on a mission.
I think we're gonna get the most insight just by being there and talking with people.
Yeah.
I've done that with the Restore Mrcac group, and it's amazing what you learn from other people, and what they care about and what they know already and what they don't know, and questions come up, I think it'll really inform us just
Do
in that
we,
manner.
this is a really important question, do we know that we have coverage for the day?
so that's,
Okay. Yeah.
Good question.
What I've done is I started.
Oh, wow.
I started this, okay, I'll pass it around. I put my name down for 2 hours here. I'll just pass it around. People can fill
Thank you,
in.
Ray, for doing
Yeah,
this.
Is it 7 a.m. to 8?
I-
Tuesday.
In full disclosure, I am going to be at a different table and for other hours there too. So it'll be Save the Damn Falls Committee.
Yeah.
So.
You'll just have to change shirts,
Wear a disguise.
wear disguise.
I'm not gonna go straight from one to the other.
So does the committee feel comfortable having your first touch point with the community be in a more politically charged setting, I guess, just to bring back to your question about making it
I
fun?
don't savor it. I mean, it doesn't excite me, no.
I'm
no.
nervous.
Yeah, no, I like kiosks around the community much more for this. Ask us a question, tell us what you know. Let's get started.
I don't have a problem with it. I think
There's
it's
nothing,
fine.
yeah, I have no problem with the polls per se. Right, yeah. It's a fraud.
I'm nervous that we're gonna get questions that we. There are answers to, should we answer them? That's a tricky.
I mean, for me, if I'm tabling, it's gonna be, you know, alewives got into the Great Lakes and that destroyed them until they put the salmon in there, and now it's great. So that's what you want to do to.
Yeah, and maybe Ray's experiences too when you're at.
Yeah, but Courtney,
There's a little bit of,
we're not promising to answer these questions.
Right,
These are
but-
guiding questions.
I think people are gonna want to have
People have
A
the expectation we're
conversation.
gonna answer them though.
that we have.
We're newly formed, we don't have all the answers.
What about the answers that are?
We'll have to role
Do we
play
just pretend?
tactful answers.
pretend
You know,
to know?
That's a good question. Please check out our website. I don't know that I can answer it sufficiently right
Okay.
now, but we're talking tomorrow
Okay.
with a different shirt on.
No, but I think we need to frame this so that none of you is put in a position where you can answer. And Susan, I think framed it correctly. So we're regularly, people usually say, there's no information available. So I think the idea is to take this opportunity of people who frankly, a lot of people come to vote who never watched the select board, don't read the papers, whatever, they have no way of knowing. So I think it's a we're here, the way Susan was framing it. The work has started and we're interested in learning what questions you have about the river. and how can we best inform you? So there's a website, we can send an email, things like that. But I think it's inevitable that people will ask questions and we don't have the answers yet. And we don't have the answers yet.
And that's part of our job.
But
Yeah.
there's no, in the way that we need to set it up is, you're wearing your hats at, so for instance, Ray, I'm gonna put you on the spot for 2 seconds, but
Sure.
with all the love in
3
my heart.
seconds.
So Ray cannot be at the Meguntico, at our table and saying, oh, we should keep the dam. You do that at the Save the Dam table. At the committee table, it's like, we formed a committee to get some citizens input and public engagement. I mean, we have a purpose, we have elevator pitch, and that's,
Right.
these are the tools you can use to kind of stay on topic, basically. I didn't-
No, I think the table for this group should really be an introduction to those people who come through there, that this committee exists,
Right.
that this is what we are going to be doing.
Right.
And that it's not gonna be something decided in 2 months or 3 months
Right.
or whatever, it's a long process.
Right.
And, if you have any questions that our group should be, that you're interested in, or that our group should be looking into, let us know.
And we would
I agree.
love,
That's what I think the extent of it.
That's all, just,
Yeah.
and I'm not even sure about collecting names or anything like that, just get the questions. Really. Because this is gonna be for a long process. And I
yes,
think that this is just our introduction.
exactly.
And I think it's important that we say, this will take us years.
Yeah.
We will not have answers right away.
Yes.
I think that's really important that we say that.
So do we have a
She's
consensus
going around
or?
herself.
Oh,
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is I'm much more leaning towards accentuating the fact that we're giving people information than collecting questions. I think they'll give us our questions anyway. I think we're really there to just say we exist
Yeah.
and who we
The
are.
purpose of the committee.
Yeah, I
You
think
have your
asking-
elevator pitch.
I think we're setting up a little bit of expectations when we start saying, what are your questions? And they're gonna tell us their questions anyway.
Mhm.
I think they will.
And
Just write it down.
And just, if I can add, Maggie and I will work with Audra, so the maps we sent you early on when you first started
Mhm.
would be great backdrops. One of them is the full watershed map, the other one is the zoomed in air photo of the Mrcac River channel. And I think people will love the maps, people that will bring them to the table, they're just informative, you don't have to know everything about the maps, but you guys actually do know a lot about the maps. So we'll work on that so that we can put a couple easels up there and that will sort of frame the table. Does that
Even the
sound good?
gap
Mhm.
even the gap analysis that shows the areas that we're looking at, which
Yes.
informs the fact that it
Yes.
will take us
Yeah.
years to
Years.
come up with this information.
This-
Yes,
Right.
that one page that shows
That's
all of these
great.
areas that we're looking
The flower?
Yes,
Actually-
yes,
Yeah.
at. Yes, I think that,
Actually, this, if we could have a sufficient number of copies of this, the updated form or anything. So if somebody wants to take some information
Mhm.
there, as a reminder, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
To have there, I don't know if we can get copies, enough copies in for that.
That we can do.
Yeah.
But I also suggest that we put the email address at which they can send questions on every piece of document people can pick up, right? Because it's easy to do. If you have comments or questions, email. I don't even know the email address of the.
To the extent that that's editable, again, back to the QR code thing, but it might be useful to say something at the bottom that says for more information.
Yes, yes.
Isn't the second part of this to not just announce about our formation and our purpose, but where they can get more information?
Yeah, also,
Yes.
that's why
Right.
we can have it.
Mhm.
We can have the website address, we can have a QR code, and put the website address on, and the email address on documents we hand out. Good, so what's our agreement? I just want to make sure.
Are we gonna go ahead and do this?
Yeah, I mean, you are doing it, just to,
Right, yeah, right.
and I would love to, but I really can't.
And I'm not sure I can be there on Tuesday. next Tuesday.
But are people
I'll
in
look it up.
agreement that this is a good thing to do?
Right, so that's, okay,
You're gonna need, I'm saying you're because I won't be there to set it up, but you're gonna need someone there to set up before the election. I think the doors open around 7 or 7:30.
Audra, what time do we need, so is the table?
8 to 8.
8 to 8, okay. So do we set up the table? Does the committee set up the table? Do you guys set up the table?
So I believe that the tables will all be there for you, but then you'll need to set up what you're bringing in terms of visuals and handouts. and
But you're
that.
gonna be printing stuff, so,
Yes.
yeah, okay,
And I'm gonna be working at the polls as a ballot clerk, so I can.
you can be a ballot clerk as a town manager?
Mhm.
I've given my number to Catherine, I don't know how many times. No, I have enough people.
I'd never check you in though, because you're an R name, and I usually only do like A through K.
Yeah, I can only do A through K. So, I can help set up. But I'm just not sure as a select board that being at the table is a good idea. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
I mean, I think you have enough other
Right.
people on the committee that,
Yeah.
I can be there early. I didn't put my name down, but I'm good early and late. You
Okay,
can't be
cool.
counting on me.
So I can take care of setting up with Audra, make sure all the materials are there, things like that. I can do that and then disappear, vote and disappear.
Yeah. I mean,
And we're doing one person at a time? Is
As,
that-
as many as you want. I mean, it's your,
If you have
Two is
extra
better,
people,
isn't it?
you gotta have 2 people there, so you have somebody to talk to.
yeah.
Having two is
Yeah,
really
yeah, right.
helpful.
Yeah, 2 is
It
fine.
is-
That's
it is
really
helpful.
helpful. It
It
is
is
helpful.
Because there's a lot of people.
And you can stagger, you can
Yeah.
do 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour.
Yeah.
If we each did 2 hours and some of it would overlap.
And traditionally, remind us when, I mean, when is the biggest foot traffic? It's like early morning before going to work. Is there traffic around noon time? People take their lunch and go vote or not really? And then,
it's been really unpredictable in the
Yeah.
last few years
Yeah.
because so many people do mail-in.
million ballots.
Yeah, so it's hard, it's not, I mean, it's not like it used to be, it's kind of unpredictable throughout the day.
Right. Okay.
I think we usually have sort of a heavy
Yeah, you've
Heavy
done that.
inputs around 6 o'clock,
Yeah,
5 to 7
Yeah.
frame, but then after that, it's just sort of.
I know the June vote, people were kind right at the limit and we were,
It was
okay, you're here, but.
Steady throughout the day.
Okay, so we have a game plan. You're filling out the little sheet. I'll bring up the paper, set up the table.
Can we summarize what will be on the table?
There will be the gap analysis,
Just the graphic, right?
just the graphic.
Yeah.
Right. We will have the 2 aerial pictures in the back as backdrops. We will have a QR code. Like, do we have those little easels, you know what I mean? That you can,
Yeah.
so people can. And do we want to have a place where people can leave their names and number and emails, just in case they want to do that?
Or leave questions?
Or if they have questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those 2 things.
Mhm.
Okay,
Alright. So you're just gonna have like.
A
legal
stack of
pads or
half
something like
sheets.
that, people could just write down on, yeah, okay.
And the QR codes, is that going to be something they can take with them or is it just
no,
there?
so I think it's gonna be on an easel and you just,
What if we had like a small, like a half a page of this, 1 pager, that just had like who we are, the QR code.
So maybe it's just one piece of paper with a QR code and with get in touch and leave your info and the flower. And
Well, yeah, something they could take with them, is what I was thinking. So like a 1 page, like a, half this, just they could take, I mean, it's killing trees, which I don't enjoy.
We can encourage them to take a picture with their phone.
Yeah.
so I think it can, we
Yes.
can leave it.
Either way.
They can contain their info if they want to, or their question, or their knowledge, or they can take it and they can visit it another time. What do you think? One
Well-
piece of paper doing both?
Are you saying that with their questions,
Yeah,
wouldn't we want them to submit their questions at that point?
we would, but they might just want to take it.
What if there's
Submit it later.
like, what if there's a list? Yeah, I mean, we can do both, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
one piece of
yeah.
paper with all the options. One half piece of
Well, I'm just
paper.
worried if,
Leave it, take it.
what if they want to take it, but they want to leave a question?
Do both. Take one, fill it out, leave it, take the other one, put it in your pocket.
I see, okay.
What's your name?
You
on
might be
there?
printing a lot of pieces of paper.
So, I think it's gonna be a lot of paper.
Yeah, it's a lot of printing
Yeah.
to do.
Because I'm trying,
Might be
so
expensive
gap
to do.
analysis, QR code, email address, and the information will be on the gap analysis. You know, you can send us a comment or question or visit the website.
We could have front and back. We could have the gap
Yeah.
analysis on one
Right.
side and you
And
flip it
then,
over and
yeah.
you have
So
our
at least-
information and a QR code.
QR code and everything.
I think
Okay.
that's simplifying it.
Who's designing this? Maggie, can you,
Can I design it?
yeah.
I think so. What's the-
Well, I'm sorry. So this is a typical, you know, translation issue. I know you can.
Okay, so you're looking for the gap analysis graphic on one side,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
on the opposite side of the page, it's gonna be
a QR code.
you know.
I know, right?
I'm like, do I know how to put a QR? Yeah, sure.
Oh, they're so
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, it's super easy.
If I can do it.
Yeah.
A QR code on the back with
Oh, yeah, it's
the
really easy.
perfect, what else do you want on that side?
QR code, email address, website address,
Email address.
website address. And as Seth proposed, if you have an additional question, you can write it here. But then what do you do? So you go home and like, if you have an additional question, then what do I do with my
Right.
question?
Yeah.
No, I don't think, you know, they have the email address, the website, done.
Yeah, no, I think just a little pile of half papers and a little box for those
And for the
20, 24 people that want to actually write something down. So,
Yeah.
Maggie, I can make a QR code that has our website attached to it and send it to you.
oh my goodness.
Wonderful.
Oh my
It takes
goodness.
Do you want like your purpose or name at the top, like
Yeah, you need to have something that
the
says.
Guncook River Committee?
The
Citizens
citizens advisory,
Right.
yeah.
Name
And
it.
we'll brand that
Sometimes
later with the
I
little.
have a question about that. In the bylaws, sometimes it's just the Guncook River Advisory Committee.
Oh, yeah, it's
Sometimes I've
just-
seen it as Citizens Advisory Committee. I was wondering which one are we?
Citizens, I think
It
citizens
was
is
just
almost the
taken
most
out.
critical word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe we need to, I mean, does it matter?
Megunticuk
If it's not in the
citizens
bylaws?
Advisory
advisory
committee or
Committee.
council.
MRCAC.
Yes.
Mcrac,
Oh, yeah, right.
Mr. Cat.
Mrcac,
Mrcac.
which we'll need to rebrand at one point, but right now.
I think even though they've been approved, I think I can go whip through these and
Okay.
add
Just wanna make
citizens.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not even at the top. I just.
Yeah.
I just-
I was
I
confused.
just-
Cool.
Do you want your purpose or a image or anything else on that sheet, or just QR code, website, email?
I think the purpose would be helpful.
Put
Or
the
some
purpose-
kind of summary, maybe it doesn't have to be this like, this purpose that we have, but.
I wouldn't.
Summary. No?
No.
I hope they go to the website, all that
Go on the
information
website.
there.
Right, not everybody
Email
will.
out.
Do you think everybody?
Email out to everybody.
But then they don't need to know what the purpose is. If they're not interested enough to go.
I guess what I'm thinking is some people
Maybe
just
they're not computer.
are just gonna, yeah. they're
Well,
not
those are the
computer
people I'm worried
literate.
about.
Yeah, exactly.
See how-
There's the people who
I'm sorry,
are,
can we have just one conversation at a time? Sorry. Also because we have people on Zoom, like at least
Sure.
10,000. Yeah.
And counting.
so we were saying we were concerned about people who are not computer literate.
That's a
or-
population we haven't
They
talked
see
about.
QR codes and they go.
Yeah, right. So what do you do with them? That's where the piece of paper with the flower on it, they will take home and look at.
Yes,
Yeah, I think there should be like 2 sentences about what we do, you know?
okay, so but you need to agree on the 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Not the purpose statement.
Well, we can
What
put the
about the
purpose
purpose
statement.
statement that's in the bylaws?
Okay, purpose statement,
Yeah.
okay. We should also put the name of the advisory committee members.
That's up to them.
Well, we should have that on the website actually, so we don't need to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
For people who don't use electronic means of communication, they're gonna tell you, I don't use electronic means of communication. So how do you want us to give you information?
Ask them.
Ask them. and say, oh, I like I like good old regular mail or a printed newsletter. That's gonna help us also understanding how to reach them up. This time, well, they're not lucky, we won't be able to please them, but that's gonna be valuable information for us too.
Well, no, they're really interested if they go all the way to Rockland to get their mail.
Yes.
Don't bring that
Okay.
Not the select board's fault.
No, actually, thank you
Yeah.
for once.
I would say for those folks who are not electronically inclined, that's why we're serving, utilize us.
Yeah.
Ask us your questions. Many have done this for us already. They've already shown up on our list.
But if
Well,
they did
there's-
want something mailed, the town if we brought their name and address back, we could do something, right?
So that's another idea I have that I would love to talk about once we're done with the November 8th, because it's, what time is it? Oh, 5:40
Yeah,
already.
5:40 now.
Okay,
Yeah, I had a little roundtable thing I was gonna do if we still.
you want to do, so, but can I take 5 minutes?
Yeah, of course you can.
So, and we discussed this, and I'm
Yep.
sorry, it's not in the agenda, because I'm not very good at having ideas at the right time. So then they go into the agenda. But then, so I was thinking that we should start thinking about a press release to put out, and maybe from what we get from, when you sit at the November 8th table, you're gonna get some of the questions. But I was thinking a press release to tell people we formed a committee, we've met a couple times, we've looked at the gap analysis, just to say a little bit like a written statement of what we're doing on November 8th, or you're doing. And I think it would be cool to start flexing that muscle of having regular communications that are in print, that we can send to the press, that we can put on the website, like little progress updates. And I was gonna, that's a suggestion for the community.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Forrest, the one that you two put together that announced the formation, did that go out as a full-on press release, or was it?
That was just a memo to the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there was any press response to that.
So Dan Dunkel came to the first meeting
Oh,
and
that's
actually wrote
Oh,
something.
Yeah, there was
That's
something.
right.
There was something, he wrote something
That's right.
that the advisory committee, citizens met and decided, and because you are so all going along together, there's not enough friction in this group, so.
That's the headline.
That's the headline.
Committee meets again?
Exactly.
Sorry.
We'll have food right next time.
Please do
One absent.
Yeah.
That's right.
Richard Thackeray came on time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
So, no, but
good.
so if you, maybe that could be something, to have a press release after November 8th, and that we could draft at our next meeting in December, and December is going to be the last meeting of the year. And I think it would be nice to finish, this first kind of quarter and say, it exists, it's working, this is the things that we've done. Again, where to reach us, send us questions, things like that, but we need to start engaging that.
Could that also be the first newsletter that we send out, if we want to do a newsletter to people, include that, explaining what we're up to, what we've done, what we're planning on doing. I think that would help
So-
inform people.
So I think we need to think about the frequency of press releases. In my opinion, the press release is not necessary every time we meet, but when we reach a milestone or something interesting to engage the public in, there's no point in, we met again, right? The newsletter, I think, requires more careful thinking about when do we want to have a newsletter? Who's going to write it? Because once we commit, we have to stick to the timeline. So I think we could, that could be a discussion for December meeting, the newsletter.
Sounds good.
So we'll do the press release, and we can start.
Yeah, we can get something together so you can react to it. It's always easier.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially if you have a cadence with it, because I think that's where I think some select board stuff has gotten in trouble, where you guys have discussed things at 15 meetings and people show up for the 16th meeting, or they see it on the ballot or something, and they're like, what's going on? This is brand new. And they don't have visibility because they weren't, pulling that information at a time.
Cool. Okay, so December meeting, we'll talk about we'll finalize the press release and we can, Forrest and Maggie can take a stab at a draft. And then, but your input is critical. I really want to stress this out. This is not the select board's press release. It's the committee's press release. So your voice matters. You really need to think about what you want to communicate. We're not the ones creating it. We're creating the skeleton. You're putting the meat on the bones. I'm on the record for this. All right. Discuss next step and finalize meeting schedule. I'm turning it over to
Oh,
you.
no, we're still on.
Oh, you're still on the public outreach?
Yeah,
Or
I
you
just
wanted
had
to- okay.
one more thing, because we have 15 minutes left, so maybe just for 10 minutes and
And
maybe we can,
I'm wondering if maybe
Yeah.
there'd be a chance for me to squeeze in something at the end, just about schools.
definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. So all I wanted to do was just to spend a few minutes, and maybe we'll do it again next meeting, but you know, as we're putting the public outreach, public engagement piece together, we'd really love to hear from all of you. And I think I mentioned this last meeting, an example of some sort of public engagement activity that you participated in your life that moved you, that either, you know, that you remember it really well, or it guided you to making a better informed decision. You know, so what was that, and why was it good? And I'll give an example, so you guys can think about this while I do this. But you know, I just thought of this just now, and I said, what about myself? And I remember I attended a National Rivers Conference, right? So it's an appropriate subject. And it was a big room. There were a couple hundred people in there, and it's usually kind of hard to see good presentations. This was a presentation. I don't love presentations, but sometimes I do. But it was a multimedia presentation where they had two giant screens at the front of the room. And it was when drone photography was first becoming a thing. And it was the New River in the New River Gorge in West Virginia. I can see the images in my mind, where you were looking at the watershed from the view from the air. And it was just a much different view, you know, that I'd ever seen. It's like flying a plane over, you know, a lake. And, wow, I know that lake, but you're down low. And it was just a total different visual of a river and a river system that stayed with me today. So that's my example.
It's very cool. And we have drone footage, or we can
I
actually.
know,
yeah,
I
we have
saw
plenty of
some
drone.
of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really great stuff.
Anyone else?
Kind of summarize that to like utilizing new technology and things creative.
Yeah.
Like maybe drone footage still relevant and interesting, but it's common, but what isn't now?
What isn't common?
Yeah, what's the new thing?
Because drones are old.
No, this is just like.
Gotcha.
Can you restate the prompt though?
The prompt is something that some public engagement activity, whether it's a presentation or a conversation or outreach that you were part of, that just stands out in your mind, and for what reason? That's the prompt.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to wait until next
Yeah,
meeting,
but keep it in mind, because I mean, sometimes we don't think on the spot.
right.
I would say, for me, do you want to go through them?
Sure, if you.
I would say for me, I don't have a specific example, but there's been 3 or 4 examples in the last couple of years where it has been cinematography and has been like exceptionally well done and edited, and there's a lot of really bad movies out there, but I think the good ones that you see now that actually have like good filmmakers and editing and appropriate music and appropriate, it can really tell a story and can really engage you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say videos or movies in general have been so moving to me. The Damnation at Patagonia did, I was crying, like, and just things like that, the visuals are pretty important to me, and I'm listening to many people, just seeing what's going on within a watershed or in the environment in general. And I think if we put together short videos, about each of the topics, that would be incredible. I know it's probably expensive, but maybe we could figure out a way. Or I know there's a lot of people in town with drones. Allison has a drone. She's taken amazing pictures of the watershed. That really changed my mind about what even would look like. So yeah, I think that's a great way to get information out to people as well. We already have some videos also that are up.
Less dramatic and not at all technological. I've been in a couple of situations, one of which was a conference, where individual storytelling, really good storytelling, made a huge difference. I could see, and then I heard later, it changed people's minds. Some of the stories, not necessarily about tragedies, but just about caring, a number of them about the natural environment, made a huge difference. And I know you two probably both know Peter Forbes, who started that whole tradition. But it's individual storytelling can make a big difference, and maybe you can do it with film, but sometimes just having someone or a couple of people tell a story can make a huge difference in how people approach things.
One, I can share one. I worked on restoring watersheds in Ethiopia years ago, where water is a scarce resource. And we put together village committees that would design the rules that the public good would be used amongst everyone, and every member of the community was responsible for enforcing the rules. And one of the rules was that there was an area where they would be growing fodder for the goats and the cows in the village, and with the water coming from the watershed, so it's a public good. And at one point, a very old woman came to the group and said, "Yeah, this is all good, this public the fodder, but number one, I saw somebody's goats divagating, that's the word they use, after hours, and they ate the fodder, so they need to pay the fine. And women in Ethiopia don't have a voice in the community. And second of all, I'm way too old to carry my share to my house, so you guys need to do that." And the whole village then assigned everybody's role, to make sure that she had it. And it was really a wonderful exercise in public engagement, because everybody had the same voice and everybody had the same decision-making power in the rules, in both designing them and applying them. And that example stays with me in the way we can engage different neighborhoods of the river and different usage, people who use the river differently, and come together and agree on how we want to use this public good. So every time I tell this story, I actually have goosebumps, because this woman, she was absolutely wonderful. So that's fine.
Anyone else?
And nobody goes after Ethiopia.
Oh,
But I think we're almost at time.
we are.
We are. So the next was setting a meeting for December.
So it looks like,
Can I do my quick schools thing?
oh,
Oh, yes,
I'll try to make
sorry.
it really, I'll just, I have ways of getting in touch with a lot of people interested in working with kids in the watershed. And it's kind of a little bit timely, because we're gonna have a workshop day, and I feel like I could ask the district if the science teachers could meet and hear from me about this, the kinds of things we're talking about, and the kinds of opportunities that might be presented to them. Should I do that? That's my question. Like, is that jumping forward? And at the same time, Stewardship Education Alliance is about to present a grant cycle. We have 2 grant cycles this year. So it would be saying to these teachers, there's this opportunity for very authentic, like if they do the work, there'd be a very authentic audience for their work that they have. And SEA could potentially work with them in the grant cycle. Anyway, it's all coming up at a workshop right before Thanksgiving, so I wanted to ask this committee if that's something I should do.
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I think engaging kids is awesome, and science teacher, what do you need from us?
just the okay. I'm a little
Okay.
tentative about, like, because I feel like I could totally take it to the schools, and there may be a lot of people that are interested. Maybe it might be a slow start because people are involved in their curriculum this year. But if I were to say it at this point in the year, and that they might think about next year really taking things on, I don't know. But there's a lot of potential there. And I think a lot of people would be very interested in.
Wait, are you the one who told me about the kids drawing?
Well, that was me.
It was you. We just had this conversation, right? So I think it would be great to find a way to engage kids and to have their vision of the river, because they're the ones who are gonna be using it once we're gone, right? So we
Oh,
should-
and the other thing is those 7 monitoring things. Did I email you about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that there would be teachers fascinated by seeing what data comes out of that.
Yeah,
So-
and yeah, and I responded, so that would be an agenda item, hopefully for our next meeting.
Okay,
Is we'll present, and then you'll see kind of the charts and kind
Okay.
of see what you think, but the loggers come out of the water tomorrow, I think. So the data will be done being collected for this year tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Can we present that? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we, hopefully next meeting, yeah, it's December 6th, it looks like, so.
Is it, so
Why does
let's,
data collection stop then?
Why does it stop? That is a really good question, you know?
Yeah,
Is it ice?
some loggers can stay out under ice, some cannot handle that. So that's one issue, and I think also the maintenance, but I do think there's a lot of interesting under ice research to be had.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, very little of it freezes over. There's not a lot of,
mm,
what do they call that ice that goes to the bottom? Not a lot of that.
Not a lot of chunks of ice floating down,
There are ice flows.
yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, the water temperature is likely for the type of, Laura's leading this, so I don't want to speak too out of turn, but the loggers that are out there would likely have a hard time with the temperature conditions in the winter.
And how long have they been in there?
since
Since
First.
early
August,
September.
late August.
First of September.
Huh, okay.
Cool,
I think
so
you're looking at a really
December, yes,
moment.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna bring up one other thing before we go, okay? We've got a couple of blank hours in here where nobody
Okay.
will be at the table and everything, so I just suggest that whoever's ahead of that, leave the materials on the table so people can just pick it up,
Okay,
okay? If nobody else goes in here.
Ellen might be able to fill in a spot.
All right, if
actually, we can make a copy and we can take a picture and circulate to the email group so everybody has this schedule. Do that. So December 6th,
December 6th is the first Tuesday of next month, and then Sophie suggested that maybe, so we had talked about the first Tuesday of every month, but Sophie suggested on the phone yesterday, maybe we do the second Tuesday in January, just to get away from the holidays. So that would be January 10th.
Thank you, yes.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Good
So
idea.
December 6th, Tuesday, December 6th, and Tuesday, January 10th. December 6th is gonna seem so long from now, because we just saw you all 2 weeks ago. So I guess my message is, if we're gonna meet monthly, we're just gonna need to communicate a lot in between that month, because we don't wanna lose the good momentum we have going.
January 10th could be the,
yes.
that's the second.
Second, I think so, I just did.
Yeah.
Does that match with your data, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah,
And if we're going alphabetically, would Courtney be the next person?
Yeah.
To be vice chair?
Awesome.
it's a tough job.
But you can talk to Ray about it.
We have 3 minutes left for any parting words or anything you guys want to share.
So we just show up to the table without any preparation, right?
You just did your prep, you did your elevator pitch.
Additional.
I mean, if you want to rehearse your elevator pitch, you can call me or you send me a video and I can comment on.
It might
No,
be
you
helpful to review like what's on the website already, so
Yeah.
if, I know people are gonna have questions that are answerable, you know, the information out there, so I think everybody's already done that work, but.
And can I coordinate pickup of materials with Audra
Yes.
Monday?
Yep,
Or-
definitely.
Yeah,
And
So you're
I'm-
picking up the material?
yeah, I'm gonna be setting up.
Or you're
Yeah,
setting up, so I don't have to do it?
And I mean, I can help because I'll probably be there anyway.
Cool.
Awesome, thank you, Sam. All right. Well.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.